Well, we're continuing to make some progress on these two 10-foot tall wheels, and there have been a number of people who have asked in the comment section, why are you building two 10-foot tall wheels? Well, these wheels were used for skidding logs out in big timber. In the old growth timber, some of these logs and trees were really quite massive. So in order for horses to skid these out, these 10-foot tall, and sometimes there are 12-foot tall logging trucks or logging arches were built. They're a two-wheel cart that would straddle these great big huge butt ends of the trees and hoist them up between these two wheels, take a lot of weight off the ground, and it allowed the horses to pull these huge trees out of the timber. So that's what these two wheels are for, is rebuilding a set of logging arch or logging truck wheels built by Holt Manufacturing. Well, you've already noticed that in my making of spokes and felloe sections, there's a lot of repetition in this process. Well, I've still got some more repetition to do. We got all the spokes and felloes sawn out. I have 48 spokes and I actually have 48 felloe sections. But two of those fellow sections have to get laminated together, so I end up with 24 complete fellow sections. So the process of laminating is another repetitious job. It's just a lot of gluing up. Any little imperfection, like this little surface knot, I'm going to put in the middle so it'll be sandwiched right in that joint. So as I glue these together, I'm paying primary attention to the inside curve. A little wasteful here, but it just tells me that I have good glue contact both front and back. So I got the first 12 done. Got the second 12 to go. Well, I did get all 24 glued together. I'll scrape off some of this glue, but I'm going to sand the inner curve. When I'm sawing out fellow sections for normal size wheels, I just use this round bottom here to sand out the inside of these curves, and I just kind of freehand float it out. But these fellow sections are a little bigger, so I've built this attachment that'll go inside, and this is the inside curve of my fellow sections. And I have a couple of 1/8" straps, and I just clamp it to the face of my sander. And I've tried to match the curve of the inside of my pattern so I can take these laminated fellow sections and sand the inside curve. So as much as I tried to focus on lining up these joints when I laminate them together, they aren't 100%, mainly because I freehand sawed them through the bandsaw, even though I use the same pattern for everything. So I need to sand these and flush them up so all my joint work and my face is all uniform, and that's what this adapter on my belt sander is supposed to accomplish. So when these are glued together, they're about 20 pounds a piece, so they're kind of hefty, but I'll just float them on my pattern, and then I'm going to periodically rotate this around because I am just freehanding this. I don't have any fence, but I have enough face here that I think I'm going to keep it pretty much square. So when I'm done, I'm going to check square from my shoulders across the face. I'll double check that. Well, I'm actually a little bit wide here yet. I want to finish at 5 3/4. I'm a little strong, so If I have to make any adjustments to make sure that I have square face to my shoulders, I can run that through the jointer or through the planer and just kind of fine tune that, trying to make sure that I keep this square. I normally have a dust collector attachment that fits right around this bottom roll that hooks into my dust collector system, but because I'm coming at an angle on my belt to match my inside block here, I can't use that, so I have this kind of just held here, monkey rigged together to help catch some of that sawdust. It doesn't catch it all, but it does help. Well, that is a workout, kind of all on one arm, the bottom arm that carries that. But it does a nice job of flushing that out, nice uniform curve. Oh, I'll just stack this to the back. And eventually we'll make it through our pile. Well, I have all the inside curves done, but when it comes time to drilling the holes for the tenons on the spokes, I would like to make sure that I have a fairly stable base to push against on the drill press. So I'm going to take a little time and square this surface up. It doesn't have to be completely round, but I would like to take these imperfections out a little bit so when I do drill those holes, it sets a little more securely. Well, that's quite a process to sand all these. Ended up with 24, and paying attention to keep everything square on the curves and all that. I ended up spending 9 hours getting these all shaped out. Good thing you don't have to watch 9 hours worth of video, huh? But I think we're good to go there. I'll eventually, when I drill my holes for the spokes, they get rim bolts throughout the fellies too. I'll do that down the road a little bit. But my next step now is to figure out how to fit my spokes to these hubs. Well, I have one hub on my hydraulic lift table here so I can look at it a little closer. And this is where each spoke is going to set in individually. Now they're going to set in on the diagonal. But it looks like there's about a 3/4 inch flat bottom, or in there relatively close. You know, it varies 11/16 to 3/4 right in there. But I'm thinking the main pressure of the spoke and the flanges needs to be on these shoulders, not on the bottom. So this is going to be a 45 chamfer, and I think all the way around, so I'm going to end up with an octagonal spoke. This is all rounded out, I'm sure, for extra strength, so I'm going to have to relieve that as well, and then have the bottom of the spoke butt up against this face here. Well, this is the flange that's going to set on the top side of the spoke, and the casting on these is a little more clear, a little more defined, but it also looks like it's right in that 3/4 of an inch area. So I'm not going to have the problem with the round edges here. And it's going to set on top of this hub just about like so. So these are where the spokes are going to set in on the diagonal. So I'm assuming if I do a 45 chamfer here, I would also probably want to do it here. There's 7/8 bolts that go through here that have to clear that as well. So I think I'm going to take these squares and turn them into octagons. And these want to be thick enough to where they don't stop on the shoulders of each other. They want to actually compress onto the spoke itself. So we're showing 2 3/4. Well, I've made all these spokes to their original specs at 2 7/8, which will allow these to compress firmly down onto the spokes. Well, this is one of the spokes that I cut out initially and then I kicked it out, and it was because of this internal check, which so often happens in the process of kiln drying. You never really know how deep that goes. So this is oftentimes why kiln drying isn't done on timber that's over 4 inches. This was over 3 inches, but you can see the checking process that had happened, and this crack is running down this direction. So I have this one spoke as a pattern that I can see if I can get this to fit into the hub. I think that'll work. So I took this spoke and actually cut it into 3 sections. So I'm going to put 3 spokes in here, kind of level up that flange and kind of see what that picture looks like. Roughly divide this in thirds. Well, these being at the 2 7/8, you can see that it takes these flanges quite a bit apart, maybe 3/8 of an inch there. So when I put that bolt in, there's going to be good compression on these spokes. And you can see how all of these spokes kind of head downhill a bit. And these bottom spokes, when I put those in, they should come uphill, and they're going to both triangulate and come to meet at the tire or the outside felloe. Well, that certainly made a mess. It's about as bad as my planer, just that I don't have a dust collector to pick it all up. You remember a few years back, I had a mess kind of similar to this. I hired a crew to come clean that up. Wonder if I could find them again. Huh. I'll look them up. You remember when they showed up? I'll see if I can find them. If not, I'll have to do it myself. Anyway, the next step I think is starting assembly. I'm going to put this hub on a stand and probably do it right in this area if I can find my cleanup crew. Anyway, appreciate you following along. Thanks for watching.